Another night of violent protests raging out of control on the streets of Ferguson, Missouri. Police using tear gas on a crowd of angry people over the shooting death of unarmed teenager Michael Brown. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon will be back in Ferguson today. President Obama has been briefed on the situation on the ground in Ferguson. And almost a week after the shooting, there's still no ID of the officer who opened fire. I want to bring in Mo Ivory, an attorney and radio personality, very familiar to our show. Hi, Mo, as well as Steve Cardian. He's a retired police detective from Westchester County and former member of the New York City Department of Investigation. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. I think it's an important aspect to have you part of this conversation. We're looking at the images. Look at the side of your screen. You see tear gas. You see this violent reaction from both sides. We just spoke with a local newspaper writer, Ray Downs, from the Riverfront Times, who quoted the scene to R.K. Baldwin as a majorly excessive reaction from police. Steve, what can be done here?
Well, they're dealing with the masses here, and we already know that a lot of damage has been done. There's been Molotov cocktails thrown at the police officers. There's been a lot of damage. They want to go home at the end of their shift, and they're going to respond with as much mass of force, as if you will, as they need to not only protect the citizens and the property, but also to protect themselves.
But is it excessive, Steve? It seems to me that kind of response is aggressive and over the amount that would be needed to disperse this crowd.
No, I don't think so. They have the masses. They're lining up in the cover of darkness. So it's a very dangerous situation. They don't know where the negative things that are going to come at them, the Molotov cocktails, rocks being thrown, guns being fired off within the crowd. So they don't know who is there attacking them. They're in uniform. The people that are there know who they are. They don't know those that wish them harm. They can't identify them.
But we know, Mo, that we had this reporter that spoke to us said there were 1 or 2 or 3 bad apples, if you will, in the bunch, where a lot of people were just there protesting, using their words to describe their frustration. He said there was an angry crowd, but it was only 1 or 2 that were violent.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I know you want to.
Michaela, I take complete exception with what he just said, that they are so concerned about the rage of the masses. First of all, it's not masses that are even out there. There's hundreds of people, which cannot be considered masses in a town like that. And you are absolutely correct. There have been 1 or 2 or 3 that have done anything that is dangerous to a militia that has been formed in Ferguson against the people that are trying to peacefully protest, a right that they have to peacefully protest. It's completely excessive.
We have reporters on the ground, Steve, and you hear the words that Mo's using, a militia. You understand that this is a community that is reeling from the death of a teenage boy, a black teenage boy. This is also a community that is racially divided. We know that there's about 2/3 of the people in the community are black, yet there's only 3 black officers on the force. This is a community in pain. How do we address a community in pain that is also having this kind of scene play out?
This was a very unfortunate incident, and we don't know exactly what happened. So the response by the community is unwarranted at this time.
Oh my God.
And we have to understand, absolutely, they have the right to protest. They have the right to say what they do. They don't have the right to loot. They don't have the right to burn down homes, throw Molotov cocktails at police officers. It's totally absurd.
First of all,
and there's dozens of people that have been arrested, not just a few bad apples.
Okay, a dozen of people who have been arrested, including 2 journalists that were doing nothing but charging their computers and responding to what was going on. You do not know that all the people that have been arrested arrested for any real reason.
And again,
the same way a boy was executed in the street for no real reason. So for you to say that, well, we don't know this, all of your we don't know is to the benefit of the police officers. None of the we don't know what's going on do you give to the benefit of the people that are peacefully protesting. So before you say that the militia, hold on, Steve, before you say, and this is exactly the problem that we have in America, that your assumption is that police are acting in the safety of their own selves instead of excessive force. And your attitude is exactly the reason why a police officer could execute a kid in the middle of the street, and you say
using the words execute. You don't know what happened. Nobody knows exactly what happened. So you using the term executed may be completely ludicrous and ridiculous.
This is the exact problem, Michaela. The assumptions.
Okay, let's let Steve respond, because, and I appreciate your passion, Mo, but there's no, if we can't hear each other, we can't have this dialogue. No, it's okay. I appreciate your passion, but we have to have dialogue. That's the one thing I think all three of us can agree on here.
Yes.
Steve, so let's talk about this. You're addressing a situation where there's clearly a lot of frustration. How do we get past this? Because today we can't see another, as soon as night falls, we can't see another situation like what played out last night and what has played out the night before in Ferguson. Does this police department have this situation under control?
I don't think anything. It's a very unsettled atmosphere there, to say the very least. So law enforcement has to be prepared for anything and everything that's going to happen.
But are they? Here's the concern. Optics of this situation look like this is a community that is in dire straits and is spiraling out of control.
There's a lot of emotion. We don't know. I just heard Mo say that he was assassinated. We don't know that. So just like the community that's there, not only are they jumping to conclusions, but you're also jumping to conclusions. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened to the two journalists, why that they were detained. Was it for their own safety? Were they in a dangerous situation? These are things that we don't know. So respond. Wait for the investigation to come out. Why loot before you even know exactly what happened?
You know what, Mo, he makes a good point in the respect that cool heads need to prevail, because the fact is this investigation does need to happen. I know there's frustration over the fact that the name of this officer hasn't been released, that certain eyewitnesses on the ground haven't been talked to at this point. I know there's frustration, and at the end of the day, an 18-year-old is dead. Mo, how do we use this anger productively? How do we, because you and I both know that anger can only get us so far.
Absolutely.
Violence sometimes is the way the voiceless express their emotions. How do we pull back from that and have a substantive conversation about what needs to happen in Ferguson and many other communities in this country?
Sure, Michaela, cool heads do need to prevail. But in a situation like this, the coolest heads are the people who are in the powerful position. And right now, that is the Ferguson Police Department. They are the ones that should be setting the example of cool heads. But they do not have the training, they do not have the management, and they do not have the leadership in Ferguson to do that. Instead, they are doing what they have always been doing, exerting their power in a non-useful way. What the police chief responded to a third reporter who asked him why the two journalists were arrested, and his response was, "Oh God," as if he doesn't even know what to do at this point. If the Ferguson police chief, if the mayor, if the heads of this whole operation investigation don't even know how to respond accordingly, then how can you blame the people who want to come out and protest about this injustice that has been done and blame them for the emotion that is high?
So Steve, do you see,
I'm sick of it, and so are they.
So Steve, do you see, we know the governor has the attention, you know, Ferguson has the governor's attention. We know the FBI is involved in this investigation. Do you think state or even federal officials need to step in now that the police station there, the police department, is overwhelmed?
No, I think that law enforcement, they have to control. It's Ferguson. It's their case, so they're going to be responsible for that. They're bringing in outside help, and you know, listen, the atmosphere there. You've got people chanting in the crowds while law enforcement is standing by calmly. They're chanting, "Kill the police."
Law enforcement standing by calmly.
They're chanting, "Kill the police." They are rioting, and there are people throwing Molotov cocktails.
There are people doing that. We have to caution you to remember, not all of the people in that protest audience were violently or saying these things that you're saying. There were a few people that we're told on the ground were saying, you know, chanting those words that you were saying. Not everybody has been.
Well, the videos that I heard, it was an entire group of people, and I'm talking somewhere between 50 and 100 that I could see on the screen.
Wrong. You sound like a Ferguson police officer. I'm sorry.
All right, we're going to
outrageous.
Mo and Steve, this obviously is a conversation that we could carry on for some time, and obviously more conversations need to be had about what we can do to stop the violent protests in the evening. We know that there are peaceful protests going on in the day. The investigation clearly needs to continue here, and obviously there's a fair amount of healing that needs to happen. Mo Ivory, Steve Cardian,
pleasure.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for the passion, both of you. Coming up next on New Day, Russia and Ukraine.